Welcome everyone to our Facebook Live segment for this month, August. Ask Dr. Furlong is the title we put to this segment because we frequently get great questions come in about what we do here at Furlong Vision Correction. And today we are going to talk specifically about some of the newest laser technologies available to correct nearsightedness, farsightedness, and astigmatism. With me today is Sunny and Dr. Sane.
Hello.
Dr. Sane is another ophthalmologist in my practice. She's been with me for the better part of a year. And Sunny is a technician in my office. Recently, Sunny had LASIK surgery here by Dr. Sane, and we're going to get into the details of that in just a little bit. But before we do that, what I did want to invite you to do is ask questions online, because we're going to get to those near the end of the segment, and even answer ones beyond that if necessary. So what I wanted to talk a little bit about initially is that Sunny, who's been a technician here for years, wore contact lenses when he was doing his hobbies and as a student, but he also wore glasses when he didn't wear his contact lenses. And he was fairly nearsighted and had astigmatism as well, and at some point when he saw enough patients come through here have LASIK, he was thinking about it for himself and wanted to know if he was a candidate, and we did the appropriate workup and testing and determined that he was eligible. So, Sunny, what I'd like to do is, again, welcome to our Facebook Live segment. I'd like to ask you a little bit about non-LASIK stuff first. Like, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do when you're not at work with us, and what some of your hobbies are.
Okay, so hi, my name is Sunny. I'm one of the technicians here at Furlong Vision Correction. My duties here as a technician typically involves taking measurements for patients, performing certain vision tests, as well as getting the patients ready to see the doctor. Outside of that, I'm a full-time student at San Jose State. I'm finishing up my biology degree and gearing towards applying for optometry school. And my hobbies typically include, well, I'm a photographer, so I'm a huge visual geek. I like taking photos of trees and lakes and sunsets and whatnot. And I'm also a videographer as well, and I like to play games like excessively. Yeah, and I've worn glasses all my life since I was like 8, and it wasn't like, oh, I wore glasses just to drive or I wore glasses for the computer. No, I wore glasses all the time, and without them I'd be like fumbling around. And since I've had the procedure, it's life-changing. Being able to see without your glasses, it just made you realize how debilitating it was to have glasses prior to this. And everything, all aspects of my life has astronomically been better. You know, I play games better, I take photos better, water sports is a thing now for me.
One thing you did mention to me before, and I know it came up, was when you were doing your video stuff or photography, wearing glasses gave you one level of vision, wearing contacts slightly different. And so you preferred one over the other. Can you tell me a little bit about, did you prefer to wear your glasses when you were doing that, or your contacts, and what were the pros and the cons?
Oh, right. So when I had a prescription that was pretty high, right? So when I wore my glasses, the center of my vision was clear, but my peripheral vision everywhere around the side of my vision was quite blurry, and it had color fringing due to the prescription I had. And that made it difficult to do a lot of activities. Like, let's say I'm taking a photo, I have to look directly through the viewfinder, and if I have to position the camera in a way that I couldn't look at it directly, I had issues with seeing blurry or color fringed vision. That was all alleviated if I wore contacts, but as I got older, contacts became more and more, or less tolerable for me. You know, I would be wearing these monthly contact lenses that would just dry out by the end of the day, and that got very uncomfortable.
And that's a very common thing where contact lenses become less tolerable over time. Is it true, Sunny, that these are your glasses from
At one point, these were my glasses. That's how I woke up every morning.
He kind of looks cute in them, but he looks better without glasses.
Oh, I look definitely better.
So let's talk a little bit about the surgery. Dr. Sane, can you spend a little bit of time talking about his candidacy and then what you guys talked about as far as planning his surgery out?
Yeah, I would love to, and I've been looking forward to this section. I must begin by saying that Sunny, in addition to being a great technician, he has many hobbies. He's multi-talented, and one of his great passions is photography. And he told me how his glasses and his contact lenses were coming in the way. He wanted to be less dependent on them and be rid of them if possible, and he wanted to still retain his good vision so he could pursue this passion. So we checked his vision, we checked his prescription, made sure it was stable, it hasn't changed in the past couple of years. We did a full examination on his eyes, we did a few more tests, we checked his corneas to make sure his corneal thickness and his corneal curvatures were within the acceptable range. And once we determined that he was a great candidate for LASIK, we decided to proceed with all laser advanced LASIK for him. And we picked a date. Sunny is a technician, and one of his responsibilities is to take care of LASIK patients before and after surgery. So he's pretty familiar with how the procedure works. He administers drops to the patients, gives them a little pep talk, tells them what to expect. And he also instructs the patients on which drops to use after the procedure and the do's and don'ts after the process. So he's pretty familiar with this. And being familiar, I thought he might be a little bit anxious on the day of his surgery.
No.
But he was super cool, and he didn't flinch. He didn't even bat an eyelid. His prescription was about -4.5, so he had moderate amount of nearsightedness. He also had some astigmatism, 1.5, and both his nearsightedness and astigmatism were well within the treatable range of our laser technology. So we proceeded with the LASIK, and it's been about a little bit more than a month ago, I think. His process went very smoothly, and he got the numbing drops. We made the flaps using only laser. Then we gently lifted up the flaps. We did the vaporizing of the corneal tissue underlying the flap using a second kind of laser, and it was very smooth. The entire process took about 10 to 12 minutes for both the eyes. Once his process was done, we checked his eyes, made sure everything looked okay. I saw him the next day. His vision had improved significantly. He was happy, I was happy. Then I saw him again after a week, and his vision had improved to 20/15 in each eye, and 20/15 with both eyes together as well. And 20/15, by the way, is better than 20/20. So we all were very excited for him, and we all are super happy that we were part of this process to help him improve his vision and be rid of glasses and contact lenses. And it was an absolute pleasure to do surgery on Sunny.
Well, and one of the things that Sunny mentioned in his what he's doing now with his full-time student status is that you aspire to be an optometrist. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, so I'm a huge a vision geek. I'm actually gearing towards applying for optometry school soon, so I'm excited. I love working here. It was very great to be trained on a lot of the pertinent information I need for getting into optometry school.
Excellent. Well, we certainly love having you here, and down the road, if you get your degree and want to come back here and help us with more patients, the door's open. Let's go ahead and take some questions that have been submitted. We can answer some of your questions about the technology and about the process and Sunny's experience.
Okay, so what does 20/20 mean?
Do you want to take that one?
Yeah. So when we check your vision, it is graded as 2200, 2060, 2070. 20/20 means it's a distance. It's basically 20 feet. So what I can see or a normal person can see at 20 feet, and what you can see at 20 feet, that means the 20/20 line is the best vision possible. The smaller the number of the denominator, the better your vision. So let's say your vision is 20/15. So you can see something at 20 feet, what a normal person can see at 15 feet. So it's better, 20/15 is better. I think I explained that.
Yeah, and it's an older convention, but it gives us a way to compare, a healthy, normal seeing eye to people who have eye diseases. And the bigger the number, like you said, on the denominator, the worse your vision. Legal blindness is defined as 20/200. That's not correctable with glasses. So that distinction is generally reserved for people who are visually debilitated for some medical condition, typically like diabetes or cataracts or some other condition. Any other questions?
Yes, do the symptoms of astigmatism worsen over time?
So astigmatism, that term comes up a lot because we see it all the time. Astigmatism just means that if you think of your cornea, the front part of the eye, as the main lens of the vision system, it should be roughly a basketball shape, equal round or curvature on all sides. But when the cornea is not shaped like that, it's more like a football, an American football, more oval shaped or has a steep side and a flat side. That's kind of what astigmatism is. It's very common, and there's different degrees of it. Typically in the first 1 or 2 decades of life, the eye is growing, and that's where we'll see changes in prescription, both nearsightedness, farsightedness, and astigmatism, but then it levels off, and generally speaking, astigmatism, like nearsightedness, doesn't change significantly throughout a person's life.
And here's a question from Tommy. How do I find out if I'm a candidate for LASIK if I have astigmatism or a nearsighted or farsighted?
Well, the best way to find out if you're a candidate for what we've been talking about today, laser vision correction, and in particularly all laser LASIK with our advanced technology, is to come in for a free evaluation. Not every prescription can be treated. There are limits to how high we can go, and not everybody's corneas can have LASIK based on the shape and thickness of those. And those are measurements we do in the office here, and like I said, come in for an evaluation. You can either book that appointment on our website, furlongvision.com, or you can call our 800 number, it's on our website, and talk to one of our counselors. They'll get you in for an appointment, we'll check, we'll see. At that point, you'll be informed what you're a good candidate for, and then we can answer any other questions you have about the procedures.
This is from Nicole. Are there any other options to treat astigmatism?
Astigmatism can be treated based on how high it is and the age of the person. So if you are, let's say, less than 40 and 45, which is the typical age when your lens is clear and you do not have cataracts, then in addition to treating your astigmatism with glasses and contact lenses, if you want to get it treated surgically, then of course the 2 options are LASIK and PRK, that is if you qualify for these procedures of laser vision correction. If you're above the age of 45 or 50, which is the typical age when people start developing cataracts, then the treatment would be to remove your cataractous lens and replace it with an artificial lens. And this lens can also correct your astigmatism, especially if your astigmatism is very high. But if your astigmatism is low, then it can also be corrected with a special kind of laser which helps in changing the shape of your cornea. And it's a different laser compared to the one that we use for LASIK or for PRK. So we have several options out there.
And if I have astigmatism, is it possible that I may not be a candidate for LASIK?
It's certainly a possibility. It's not common, but we do see some patients whose degree of astigmatism either exceeds the limits of what we can treat, or the pattern of the astigmatism is unusual. There are some people that are born with some hereditary conditions where the cornea has enough misshapen characteristics to it where lasers aren't a good fit for it. So there are some patients who unfortunately can't or don't qualify for these technologies, but the best way to find out is to come in and get the pictures taken so we can tell.
Do all vision correction surgeons use the same technology?
Well, that's a great question. You know, we have 7 different FDA-approved lasers in the U.S., and some were approved as early as 1995, 1996. Most of those lasers have been upgraded in different doctors' offices. But there are certain limits to what doctors who perform these procedures are willing to provide. I know of several doctors that perform laser vision correction only. So, as Dr. Sane said, if you're in your 50s or 60s and you're better off having a lens replacement, not all doctors perform that perform LASIK. And we do both of those. I find it particularly rewarding to be able to take care of the very young and the very old with different eye problems, but we know all of the technologies that are appropriate and can speak with you about which would be best for you.
Sonny, do you still wake up and look for your glasses?
Oh, I have a lot of habits like that. So prior to the procedure, I used to do my hair with glasses on, and when I tilt my head down to look at the top of my hair, I would make this face because my glasses would tilt down in order to keep the glasses up so I can see. And now when I do my hair, after being treated, I still make that face uncontrollably.
All habits done.
Yeah, I have
That'll take a few more months and that will go away.
Can you tell us anything more?
The procedure itself, it went by really quick. Dr. Sane here is amazing. It was actually very relaxing. I was just laying there. I was very zenned out, and it went by really quick. And I saw immediately. I think there's a lot of misconception where after you have LASIK, you're supposed to wear like a patch and you're like blind for a few days. That's not true. I saw immediately after I got off the table, and it's a life-changing thing.
Well, thank you very much for watching and tuning into our Ask Dr. Furlong Facebook Live segment. This concludes it. If any follow-up questions come in, we'll be happy to answer those. Thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you on a future episode.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Nice. I'm glad you wore these. That was good.
Yeah, a lot of people
That was good.
knew I worked here for a long time and knew
Yeah.
what I did.
Yeah.
And it was only after I got LASIK and posted on Instagram that they were like, oh my god, like how
Yeah,
was it?
right.
Like, oh, I'm gonna get LASIK now. Oh, you're brave now too.
Yeah, now after Iowa.
Celebrity now.
No, very true. I mean,
That
yeah,
is really-
it comes up. I mean, I ask patients all the time, do you know people who've gone through this? And when I hear the answer no, I'm always like, really? Because I know they know people. They
Yeah.
just don't know that those people have had it.
Yeah.
Because it's been around for long enough, they just assume these people they've met 10 years ago never wore glasses.
Yeah.
And in reality, they've had LASIK done. I was going through my my college reunion is this fall for my 30th year college reunion.
Oh my goodness.
And
Stanford?
yeah, Stanford, and they publish a book of biographies that we've all submitted. And I got it the other night. It's coming up in 2 months, but we all submitted this about 2 months ago, and whoever put a page in. So there was a patient that we treated here 3 months ago, and I remember the last name, and then I look at the book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know her. From my freshman year, she was in the next dorm over.
Wow.
And she actually had LASIK 12 years ago on the East Coast and then relocated here, and then we did a touch-up on her. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just did her surgery, and we haven't made that connection yet, because she had got married, different last name and the whole
Right,
bit, and she's 30 years older. And I'm 30 years older, so I don't think she recognized me, and I didn't recognize her. And I look at this, I'm going, oh, Jackie, I remember her. Her friend was Julie, they were from, so I started making these.